Hello, my name is Clara Maveglia and I founded the Cultural Entrepreneurship Institute in Berlin. Today I am in Copenhagen and my guest is Claus Meyer. He is a gastronomical star. He founded Noma, the best restaurant of the world. Welcome to our community, Claus Meyer. Hello, Claus.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for your time and being here now. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Claus Meyer. I'm a Danish autodidact chef and also a culinary entrepreneur. So I have a tendency to start food-related businesses with the ambition to change something within the food culture.
So we can say that you are a gastronomical star. And what influenced you in your life? What made you the person you are today?
It's always difficult to say exactly when and what actually made you who you are. I think it's a number of incidents that, and for myself, I think that I'm constantly learning from my errors and the things that I succeed in doing, and I learn a lot from what happened last week. So I have the great feeling that I tend to get closer to being a pretty decent version of myself, but there's still a lot to improve on. But paradoxically, it all started with 19 years lived in some sort of a culinary darkness in southern Denmark back in the 60s and 70s, where my mother represented the first generation of Danish women working outside the home. So the household was about economizing time and money and then get on to what really mattered in life, what was definitely not the meal. So then what kind of saved me and brought a radical change was 1 year spent first in Paris, and then when I got hepatitis, I got on a recreational stay in Agen, the capital of Gascony, where I happened to live with a pastry chef and his wife. And they could not have children. And on my side, my parents had divorced when I was 14. And we ended up being a pretty good match. And he became kind of like a spiritual father to me. And not only did he teach me how to cook, but he also taught me some really important things about what matters in life. And due to that meeting, I suddenly knew what I wanted to do with my life.
So feeding the body means also feeding the soul. How did you experience this?
Of course, eating, after having eaten all this shit in my childhood, when the first time of my life had a slice of foie gras and a glass of Sauterne, I had tears in my eyes. So I don't know why, I don't know exactly what I felt, and I don't know exactly how this could happen, because I was in no way culturally disposed to enjoy foie gras. Maybe it was also the company and the whole ambience that characterized the way in which that dish was served, and the whole there was some sort of serenity and a lot of emotions connected to eating in France. So whether it's the food itself and its physical components, or just the fact that people care and you feel all that care that lies underneath a dish, the agricultural practices that have produced the produce that has been cooked up to this and that. Once you get a sight and understanding of all those efforts that end up on your plate, then eating can be pretty emotional. Somebody has said that a dish is the closest distance between two people's hearts. The closest way to come from my heart to your heart is to serve you something that can be emotional.
So it means when you're in love, you cook better?
Or when I wanna bring a stranger to the same page, if I wanna sort of connect emotionally to somebody else, a dish can be a very strong vehicle for that.
So it's a non-verbal communication?
Yeah.
A way of...
Yeah.
Okay. It's very wonderful, this possibility. But could you tell more about the Nordic Cuisine Manifesto then?
So the feeling that I went home with to Denmark when I was 20 years old, back in 1983, was that I wanted to change the food culture of my country. I simply couldn't see the point of so many people eating all this lousy food. I couldn't see the point that in one of the richest countries of Northern Europe, we should eat lousy food. Also, I had got the sense in Gascony that maybe the divorce of my parents and all their quarreling was related to the microwave oven and all the frozen vegetables we had had. So I felt that this battle was not just a matter of great or bad food, it was also a matter of love. So I felt like I felt that I was a defender of love, not just of, and great food was just my instrument. That was my tool. So I did everything I could for 15, 16 years to change the food culture in Denmark through television shows, through cookbooks, through different restaurants and catering companies and all kinds of culinary activities that I had launched and through which I had tried to engage people. For me, it was never just a matter of producing something and selling it and run away. It was always a matter of engaging a community and turn a customer into an ambassador and a new change agent who would be a missionary. I want my customers to be missionaries and ambassadors, not just customers. And for a number of reasons, in 2003, I reached out towards this new approach to changing food culture, and I just got the feeling that maybe there was an international window of opportunity for a new story. So many great media had been talking about the Spanish food revolution, Ferran Adrià, El Bulli, and I felt that the Spanish cuisine was alienating itself from the nature of cooking and the essence of what I mean this human activity is about. Because instead of celebrating nature, honoring the farmer, looking for the best possible produce, understanding the impact on nature of consuming or supplying yourself with this or that type of product, then everything was about just spoiling the guest with great dishes made up with chemical ingredients from industry. And so I saw that maybe there was a free position, maybe a food culture could suddenly be the most interesting and admirable and wonderful one in the world if it could find a way of bridging deliciousness with sustainability and healthiness, basically ethics. So if the chef could be not a provider of sensual experiences, but also of admirable solutions that would address some of the biggest problems of our time. So this, if I could bring this into the middle of this utopia, the new Nordic cuisine, then maybe this could have a goddamn big impact in the world. So I did two things. I launched a restaurant, Noma, with Rene Redzepi, and I found a way of engaging all the stakeholders in the Nordic region around around this dream, this vision. And in order to have that dialogue with them on the New Nordic Cuisine Symposium in October 2004, I needed to bring in a belief system that I could share with them and ask them, what do you think about this? So I spent half a year developing a belief system that would describe which values a great food culture of 2003 should lean on if it should be really mattering on a global level.
Mm. But if we stay a little longer on this Nordic adjective, so you were also one of the first talking about local and seasonal food. So what did you discover exactly here in Scandinavia that is good to eat? Or because when you come to the north, it's always a bit cold or I don't know, not really warm in general. So what did you? It would be interesting just to hear what are new plants or food possibilities that you discovered.
The moment we decided only to use 100% local produce and not bring in one single ingredient from abroad, then you have to look much more intensively on your own larder, on your own landscapes, on your own seas. So instead of just saying, well, I don't know what to cook with, so I just call up Australia and see what kind of fish they have these days. I just bring in some mangoes or pineapple because Danish fruit sucks in January. So the moment you close that door to the foreign world, then you have to really, really take an interest in everything that can be done. How does an apple taste when it kind of dries out? Could you pickle berries and then use them in February? How many berries do we have? I mean, normally we just ended up blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, and then, okay, mango, pineapple, banana. But then we found out that, for instance, speaking about berries, that we have 55 edible berries in the forest, of which we consume only 7. So there were apparently 48 berries that nobody ever cared about. Then we found out that 99% of all mushrooms in the forests of the Nordic region rotten up because nobody cares to pick them. Then we found out that we thought rhubarb was rhubarb. But then speaking with the Nordic gene banks, we realized that there were no less than 115 different varieties of rhubarbs with different flavor profiles and aromas and etc. Then we went to the Arctic region and spoke with the fishermen and farmers in Greenland and in Iceland and in Faroe Island, and we found reindeer of a quality that I'd never seen before. We found out that there was an animal named muskox. I didn't even know what it was. And that was maybe if I am to die in 1 hour and you ask me what will be the last dish you want to eat, I would say give me muskox, because the flavor of this animal that graces the tundras of Greenland, eating moss and wild thyme and blackberries and things like that, is amazing. So we just, by looking into our landscapes, we found a very, very broad vocabulary, an alphabet. I was an alphabet, and also we realized that with cabbage, we thought that cabbage, not only, first of all, we found out that we had 30 different cabbage varieties, and we also found out that you can do so many things with cabbage. You can chop it up raw, marinate it this way, that. We can juice it. You can burn it in a pan, and it attains a great flavor. So by reducing the complexity of the produce we would cook with, we ended up inventing a large number of new preparations with those same ingredients. So there were an innovation potential all over the plate. There was so much more to do with our produce.
Yeah, amazing. But what fascinated you about being a cook, a virtuoso cook?
And then I didn't speak about foraging. So I mean, just going in the forest, I think we have come up with something like 80 edible plants that nobody would touch in the 1990s. Oh. And that are now becoming part of our expression of ourselves.
Like, so vegetables, like spinach?
It could be like ramson, wild garlic. It could be, a lot of plants, wild onions growing in the forest, a lot of plants growing at the seashore, sea cabbage, sea mustard. There's so many varieties of vegetables that grow widely out there, but that we don't consume because it's more easy to go up to the supermarket and buy some spinach.
So then this means that being a cook for you means also that you go out in the fields or in the forests and you first check out these things, maybe I could do a nice risotto with it, or how
definitely risotto is a very good substance for absorbing some of those more edgy, salty, bitter components that you find in those wild plants. So you need something like potatoes, cream, risotto, to kind of deliver some sort of fattiness or sweetness that will kind of counterbalance the more bitter character of those wild plants. So they're often very aromatic, and then also a little bit bitter. Like parsley is also a little bit bitter and then aromatic. But I mean, you don't need to go out. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that a chef is foraging. I mean, the dish doesn't get much better because he forages. I mean, he could have somebody foraging for him. So some people are specialized in knowing what to eat and what not to eat, and chefs are specialized in cooking. So, but you can say that a lot of chefs have wished to try to position themselves in the world of gastronomy, as somebody who are in contact with nature. So I think that the idea of a chef being close to nature is closely linked to what the Nordic cuisine is about. The Spanish cuisine was about technical innovations. The Nordic cuisine is about understanding nature and coming up with dishes that are a little bit more simple and that celebrate the produce and the season and the place.
So, but what made you decide to dedicate your life to food or cuisine or kitchen?
I mean, food found me. I didn't find food. It was not a decision. It was a calling.
And how did you discover this? Your talent?
I just felt it. I didn't discover. I just loved it. And my father had told me when I was a kid that he didn't care what the hell I would spend, what I'd be doing in my grown-up life, as long as I fucking hurried up. My father told me to hurry up and be efficient. And then Guy told me in this pastry lab in Gascony, he said that the only thing that matters is that you love what you do. He quoted a French philosopher called Félicien Marceau, who had said, "Le bonheur, happiness, c'est savoir ce que l'on veut et le vouloir passionnément." So happiness is about knowing what you want to do with your life and having the guts to follow your heart. So, and my heart told me that I would cook. I loved to cook. I fell in love with the flavors of the French gastronomy, and I love to be able to produce such flavors myself. And then also I just saw the importance of this human activity in Gascony, comparing life in France to life in Denmark. And therefore there was no way back. I never wanted to spend my entire life behind the stove. I just wanted to change the world through food. Without ever imagining that one day I would find myself in Bolivia or in prisons in Denmark trying to inspire people to change career. I never ever. So that's what I mean with learning. I mean, what I learned from the Nordic Cuisine Manifesto was that you could leave out the word Nordic, and this belief system we created that I thought was strictly linked to our place was basically about defending indigenous food cultures all over the world against McDonaldization.
Yeah, but I can understand that for sure. Being Italian, and seeing McDonald's in Rome or something.
Yeah, we are very close to. I mean, we are affiliated with the slow food system. I would say. Okay. But slow food is about defending the legacy, whereas we are about changing and developing stuff, because we have not Italy's rich food culture. But that being said, all the values are more or less the same. Yeah,
so you started something, so you don't have to go far away to start a new culture. So importing, but if you find, so this is probably the revolution that you started, is to find your own cultural roots. And this is not a metaphor, but real proper.
And it was a rather natural route, because contrarily to Italy, we don't have a rich culinary heritage. So we are never in history had a tradition for cooking great food in Denmark. Maybe because of our Puritan past, the Luther and this idea of not enjoying life too much. Because then you won't go to heaven. Not too much pleasure. So maybe because of that. So in our case, it was a matter of rediscovering the power of our produce and the climate up here that is very interesting for a number of products. A strawberry harvested in Denmark or in Greenland, southern Greenland in August, is comparable to no strawberry in the world. It's better. Acidity, sweetness, aromatic concentration is fantastic. Strawberry from Spain and Italy doesn't compare. So for a number of ingredients, they reach a full potential because they grow slowly to a maximum of maturation very, very many weeks and months later in the year. And so we had to discover the power of the produce and believe in ourselves. Until then, we just imported Liguria olive oil, jamon pata negra, parmigiano, aceto balsamico, instead of inventing great stuff with our own produce. Yeah, this is the good part. So that's why before we talk about your single projects that are also interesting. So you are known because you are
or you were, I don't know now, but you started Noma. And Noma is well known as the best restaurant of the world. And when you hear this, you first think at Stars or Stars Cuisine and this and that. Can you please talk about your work at Noma so that we know what's about it and why it is the best restaurant?
I mean, my head chef and partner, Rene Redzepi, he definitely is the, maybe the biggest star of gastronomy these days, because he's also a guy who has found a way of sharing his insight with other people, and he, of course, is very much, interested in his own career, and he defends Noma's position brilliantly. But he's also a generous guy who takes an interest in other people from all other cultures. So you asked me about why did Noma become number one in this list, San Pellegrino's list?
Why is the Noma the best restaurant of the world? So you were starting it together?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be very careful about using the word the best restaurant, because according to the Michelin guide, the Noma has 2 stars, not 3 stars. So whatever best means, it's a little bit difficult to be clear about. So I think it's fair to say that this San Pellegrino list of the 50 best remunerates, of course it remunerates great cooks and great restaurants, because who is it that votes? Who is it that vote? That is journalists and restaurateurs from the whole world. But more than anything, it remunerates influential places. And Noma is, the food, the service is outstanding at Noma. There are other places in the world where it's different and it may be as good, but what Noma is totally, where Noma is a leading size in the world of gastronomy is when it comes to being influential and innovative, and always attack and change the menus and investigate new frontiers, and that is being honored by the world of gastronomy, who that votes for this list.
So, but how do you stand the pressure in the kitchen with so many stars for so many years?
Yeah, well, I would definitely not try to answer that question myself, because it is Rene Redzepi who does that, and I can't understand it either. I would be scared to shit if I had to cook for all these great food critics and restaurateurs and head chefs from the whole world coming in. Of course, they try to behave and be polite, but they are, cutting into every single element of the dish in order to find something that they, could have done in a different way. That's how life is also. So I don't know how these guys stand the pressure. I'm happy that I'm not spending my life in the kitchen.
So, but you started Noma, the Melting Pot Foundation, Gustu. So what motivated you to do this, and what does it take to start all these successful projects?
I'm living my life in a way where I'm trying to solve great problems, and I especially enjoy my life where I feel that what I'm doing, what I'm embarking on, really, really makes a difference. So you can say that I'm constantly in search of problems that nobody tries to solve, and that maybe I can solve with my sense of deliciousness, food, craft, and entrepreneurship. So I think that instead of using this gift that I have got, or this knowledge that I have learned, just for earning more money for myself and my company, I think it's much more interesting, and it doesn't necessarily hurt the company, that I inspire other people or help them use this knowledge to enrichen their lives. So I think it's basically a much more fruitful and wonderful way to spend time than just to, just to earn more money for yourself. I have a wonderful life, a wonderful family. We have the money that we need, so I don't become more happy just because I earn some more money. What really makes me happy is when I see other people grow. So it is as simple as that.
Yeah, so you mentioned entrepreneurship. So please, let's stay just a moment longer there. Why it is so important, entrepreneurship? Cultural entrepreneurship, culinary entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship, we mean with this, to start a company not only to maximize the profits, but also to solve problems, social problems or culinary problems.
I think what I take an interest in is that, well, if you start a company, it's a company. And then you can grow the company or you can collapse. I mean, then the whole activity is kind of framed by that company structure. What does it produce, and who are the clients? And it's a very limited. Game or battlefield, and it's very much about monetary issues and selling some more products. And of course, these products can be good or bad, and that makes a difference. But when you do what you call social entrepreneurship, you have an opportunity to impact, many more people's lives. If you tap into an area where your dreams and other people's dreams and hopes meet, then you potentially release a lot of energy. And if you can find a way of focusing that energy in a certain direction, then you can make changes based on a virus like what do you say? I mean, if I could never sit down and figure out how to change Bolivia through food. With bringing in, I have got $600,000. I want to give them to Bolivia. Now I want to change Bolivia. I would be unable to figure out how that little amount of money could help in any way the poorest country of South America. But then by developing this dream, this utopia, the new Bolivian food system, and starting teaching young people, bringing in head chefs, having New York Times speaking about the project, creating food schools, educational systems, suddenly it becomes like an avalanche. And but only if you connect with people that you don't control, that you connect on the internet, on social media, and because of karma and reputation, then you can connect thousands or hundreds of thousands of people around a common idea that everyone want to work for. And then suddenly that idea can have critical mass, and it'll bring light back to every single stakeholder in that organization. That is what happened with the Nordic Cuisine movement. Suddenly we changed demand. We changed global demand and interest for our little thing. And when there is demand and interest, it's so much more easy to do your things in a new way. So it's a matter of changing behaviors by sharing dreams with other people. And it only works when these dreams represent some sort of a higher level of consciousness or a higher level of ethical and aesthetical perfection. If it's about you promoting yourself, it collapses. It has to be a win-win-win scenario that nobody has reached into before.
So that other people follow your idea. So like,
and also can win themselves by doing that.
Yes, and you do that too. You don't win only money, but you feel better yourself doing good things.
But somebody in Bolivia, then somebody will want to open a street food restaurant. Somebody will want to sell his farm products. I mean, there's a lot into it for everyone. The Minister of Health, he want to see a healthy people. So if we can collaborate about sharing information about a new Bolivian diet that is based on local produce. So there are all types of gains involved in taking food culture to a more conscious level, where it's better for the future generations, it's better for your health now, it's better for Bolivian exports, it's better for tourism, it makes people more proud of who they are, it strengthens Bolivianness. It cuts down CO2 emissions. By growing organic, you reduce pollution of groundwater. So there's so many wins involved in inspiring people to become change agents that will inspire other people in order to make a change of huge proportions that could never be obtained through marketing or salespeople. Only by touching people's hearts will this go on, and only by creating a structure where all these people who act are becoming remunerated, either because they become sort of cultural heroes, or because they become formal agents that run small operations that become part of this new economy that is on top of the old economy.
And this project in Bolivia that you started is called Gustu.
I have a foundation in Denmark called Melting Pot. The Melting Pot made a daughter in Bolivia called Melting Pot Bolivia, together with the Danish NGO IBIS that doubled my money. So suddenly we had $1.2 million. The Melting Pot Bolivia created Gustu, a social restaurant, that through the Danish apprenticeship model, because of the presence of two great chefs from here, each year educates 20 young Bolivians that become master waiters or chefs. So that's the main activity of the Melting Pot Bolivia, the restaurant Gustu, that is actually co-founded by a Danish governmental fund. So we wanted to reserve a slice of the money to sponsor the Bolivian food movement. So with the other hand, in Melting Pot Bolivia, Gustu is one thing. With the other hand, we are opening food schools in the slums, micro cafeterias and micro educational institutions with 25 young boys and girls from the slums working there and being taught this profession every day for half a year, and proposing meals at $1 for the local communities. And also we have sort of I would say being an enzyme or a catalyst in the birth of a Bolivian food movement called Miga that has launched a festival called Tambo. So we have is a number of components that in together drive change without needing a lot of money.
So, but not only this, you are also working in jails with prisoners, teaching them how to cook. Is this also something that you do because food is also changing your attitude to life?
Definitely, we have seen in the prisons that it has been extremely successful. But the simple thing we have done has been to create, humble working kitchens in 3 prisons, and then we've come in with our passion for cooking, and also as some sort of with a headhunter's attitude, because we have told these guys in there that if you learn to cook, then we can employ you when you get out of prison, and we believe that you can grow and that you can become a part of society and become something positive. If you want to get there, we will hold your hands and we want to help you. And they've never ever met people like us before in their lives, many of them. They've been hurt and doing stupid things and always seen themselves as destructive characters. Suddenly we started creating great food with them, taught them how to care about the sourdough, grow plants. And then we basically, after 2 months, taught them how to cook a 1-star Michelin meal. And now it has turned into formally, they actually can take in the prison the first half of the chef's education. So instead of wasting their life, losing competences, losing time, now they sit there, they are deprived of freedom, which is the purpose of going to prison, but when they get out, they have learned something. They have a chance of getting a job instead of just having to rob somebody to survive. And that really, really makes a difference. And for my team, my colleagues, they really grow. They have a purpose that is larger than just cooking rice or making a bread. They change unhappy people's lives, and they prevent society from more crimes. We cut down on crime rates by what we're doing.
Yeah, it's incredible. But not
simple,
only cooking, incredible, because it's, as it sounds, it's not only cooking, it's also eating together. So this social part that is improving humans.
It's very much eating together. In the beginning, they couldn't stand each other, they couldn't collaborate, they hated each other. But then when they cook, for 1 week, 2 weeks, and help each other, finish the sauce, wash up the dishes, eating together, they have to talk. Wow, I love the bread you made. I mean, what a fantastic soup. It makes people, it simply improves people's character to care for other people. Then they say, well, I could cook this for my kid. He comes on Sunday. Okay, you could have my cake. Give your kid my cake. Suddenly people help each other create great moments for others. So you have criminal bandits that suddenly find themselves spending 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day, just figuring out how to care for others. And maybe for the first 2-3 weeks, they remain criminal, destructive guys. But many of them, after a couple of weeks, they change their mentality. They see it's so much better to make people happy than to take away their joy of life.
Yeah, it's.
But they say, what about my money? How can I survive? So the very important part, not to neglect, is that they need a job. Yeah. So we bring in mentors from other trades. And we have relations to other food companies. So we do everything to say that if you want to cook, if you take a good exam, then they get fantastic rates. They get stunning rates. So when you cook, you take those exams, we find you a job. You mean that? Yes. We mean that. We know how to find a job for you, and we do it. We never let them down, and they appreciate that so much. And it's kind of we don't need money to do it. This money is within the prison service system. We have money for education. It is just going to bad education.
Yeah, some more software skills or something like that. So the social part.
A Danish I would say that in America, I don't know the exact numbers. I know that the money that is spent on each criminal, each inmate per year, on top of what it costs to have them just behind the walls and fed. Apart from the whole putting them in prison and feeding them so they don't die in there, we spent 230,000 kroners, that is 30,000 euros, on each inmate, and they never see that money. It's just bureaucracy and I don't know what. Yes. So 230,000 kroners can you spend on education if you reduce bureaucracy. Yeah, so there's a lot of money actually in the system.
Yeah, and also if you have happier people, they say in the Nordic countries there is so much depression and you get so much, psychopharmaca and all this, and just it sounds really incredible, just this change through food and love and so. But just one question related to the resources of the earth. They are limited, we know, and we are actually abusing them. And how do you solve this problem for yourself?
Well, the biggest. I mean, apart from eating insects and eating seaweed and other fish and caring about the resources from the sea, I think the most evident thing would be to grow plants more efficiently and to stop eating all this meat and eating more plants. It is as simple as that. Yeah. As you know, it costs 10 times of the calories to pass the plants through a cow or a chicken or a pork. So if we can eat the plants instead of eating the meat, it is so much more efficient for us. So I think that is part of the solution, and that's also why the Nordic cuisine is very vegetable oriented.
Okay. Yeah. So we have heard now so many most fascinating things. Just one question for the future, your future project. Where would you like to invest your energy in the future? Right.
Well, in the very near future, in August, I move to New York with my family for 2 years to open a food hall in Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and also to create a food school in the poorest neighborhood of New York called Brownsville. A food desert with 110,000 Afro-Americans, out of which 55,000 live under the UNDP level of poverty. So the idea would be to engage those people out there in a process of releasing their full potential. And I believe that we will open a restaurant and a coffee roastery and a bakery, and that one day there'll be a great restaurant in a neighborhood where no white man dares to go after 4 o'clock. Today.
Do you have already the name for this restaurant?
No.
Okay.
We know the. I mean, in these days we are about to rent the space for it, and we're going to open it in autumn. The pilot project.
Okay. Good. So in the end, the last question: what does really matter in life?
What really matters in life? I mean, I think that of course it matters that you love the people, your family, your friends, and they know. I mean, that they never doubt that you love them. I also think it matters that you constantly strive to become a better version of yourself. I think it's a never-ending process, and I think it's wonderful to learn all the way down the road. And then it's a matter of balance, finding some sort of balance in your life between all the different activities you can embark on. It's not easy, but you shouldn't get crazy about it either.
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you so much. It was really interesting. Everything. Yeah.